Welcome to the part 3 of this series, How to Make a Successful Fashion Brand. Today, we are going to first understand and then use techniques of creating an everlasting brand identity that reflects your core values. In the part 1, we understood the evolution of brands, and in part 2, we learned how to create a meaningful visual identity of a brand. If you have missed those parts, please watch them to get a 360-degree viewpoint on building a brand. Now, once you know it, you can do it. Okay. We are going to learn the intangible aspect of brand identity today, the brand personality. Now, just like human beings, the outward behavior and physical conduct of a brand defines their personality. Consumers interact with brands as if they were people. Brands without humanity symbol and meaning have no personality. Now, why is brand personality important? A brand personality is developed to enhance the appeal of the brand to the consumer. According to human psychology, we all value our own self-image and we behave according to the person that we would like to be. Brands are a way of affirming or even projecting our own identity to ourselves and to others. There is a term in human psychology called anthropomorphism, where we all have a tendency of assigning human attributes to animal, plants, and material objects to make our interaction with the immaterial world better. Consumers usually has no difficulty in assigning personality to different brands and defining them with traits as if they are describing a person. Now the question is, how to develop a brand personality? A brand should choose a target group according to their own aspiration with certain personality traits. If these personality traits align with the purpose of the brand, then they can be adopted as the personality of the brand. So in this infographic, you'll see the traits of the customer and the brand purpose, and the overlapping part becomes the brand personality. For example, let's say this target consumers, if we have to give their traits of their personality, they are young, they're rebellious, they're uncommon, they're passionate, they're reverent, they're liberated. Now Diesel personality is the same. It's young, rebellious, uncommon, passionate, irreverent, and liberated. Now if we look at different brands personality, you have Zara, which is confident, mature, stylish, aggressive, and unpretentious. You have H&M, which is trendy, fashionable, up to date. Diesel is young, rebellious, uncommon, and passionate, and Levi's is casual, authentic, young, and free. If you look at Zara and H&M, both the companies are fast fashion brand, but because of their very strong brand personality, they exhibit differentiation. Same with Diesel and Levi's. Both are denim brands, but because of their strong personality, they both exist differently in the market. So that's why brand personality is very important. So far we have understood two elements of brand identity. One is the visible elements, which are all the main logos and main color palette, secondary color palette, logo lockups, typography standards, images, all that we discussed in the previous part. The second element of brand identity is the brand personality that we just spoke about, which is about assigning human attributes to make the brand more human. And then element 3 is the one that we are going to discuss now. Now, after a company has made both the visible part of the brand and brand personality, what does the company need to do? It needs to communicate that brand personality to the consumer. But consumer is exposed to many brands of the world in the market. So a company needs to position their brand within other similar brands in the market, and that is called brand positioning. The third element of brand identity is brand positioning, where you have to create a unique impression in the minds of the customer at the marketplace. Let's define brand positioning. Brand positioning is the unique space a brand occupies in the brain of the consumer. If a brand is positioned right in the market, consumers view it in a unique way by associating emotions, traits, feelings, and sentiments with it. Now, these associations make the brand stand out from the competition. So, brand positioning is very important. Philip Kotler, the father of modern marketing, said brand positioning is an act of designing the brand's offering and image to occupy a distinct space in the mind of the target market. For example, how Colgate, a toothpaste making company, has positioned itself as protective in the market compared to Close Up, which is another toothpaste making company, compared to Close Up, which is positioned as a refreshing toothpaste. So both the companies are making same toothpaste with different flavors, but they have positioned in the market differently. Similarly, Sensodyne is making toothpaste for sensitive teeth. So all the different companies making a similar product have positioned themselves with a different brand identity into the market. Woodland has positioned itself as tough and perfect for the outdoors. Dove has positioned as achieving natural looking beauty. Harley Davidson has positioned itself as the brand which will fulfill urban dreams of personal freedom. So these are different brands who have positioned themselves in the market, and they hold different emotional value with the customer. Now let's say characteristic of a good brand positioning. So what are the characteristics? One, it should be relevant. Like the position strategy you decide should be relevant according to the customer. Just like Run the Runway understood the young customer does not have money, but they really want to look chic and create a relevant brand positioning. And the next one is clear. Your message should be clearly communicated to the people. Another character to position your brand is the uniqueness. A strong brand positioning means you have a unique, credible, and sustainable position in the customer's mind. It should be unique or it is of no use. Desirable. The unique feature should be desirable and should be able to become a factor which the customer evaluate before buying a product. Then it should be deliverable. The promise that you have made should have the ability to be delivered. False promises leads to negative brand equity. Now, points of difference. The customer should be able to tell the difference between your and your competitor's brand. It can be by visible elements, it can be by the material that you have used. Then recognizable feature. Now these unique features should be recognized by the customer, and they should be able to associate this recognizable feature with the product and with your brand eventually. So this includes keeping your positioning simple and in a language which is understood by all the consumers. The last is validated by the customer. Your position strategy, your branding strategy isn't successful until the time it is validated by the customer. He's the one to decide whether you stand out or not. Hence, try to be in his shoe while deciding your strategy, which we designers know as empathy. Now, brand position. All the characters. One is relevant, you should be clear, unique, desirable, deliverable, points of difference, recognizable, and validated by the customer. So that is overall characteristic of good brand positioning. Now, how to position a fashion brand? The fashion sector is Unique because it is design driven, and for that reason, the product offering becomes part of the identity of its consumer. So it's very important that what kind of product you're offering when you are a fashion designer. Now let's talk about competitive advantage. You have got a brand, you are there in the market. You really need some sort of element that gives you a leverage with your competitor, and that is called a competitive advantage. Now, important elements for fashion brands for competitive advantage. Now, what are the elements that we can look at? One is the brand positioning, how you have positioned your brand, and that is something that we just discussed. And then second one is unique selling proposition, which we also call as USP. Now, possible brand positioning directions for fashion brands. Let's see what are the directions. Now, one, your brand can be more aspirational. Second, it can be more accessible. There are a lot of brands which are not easily accessible to people, so making your brand more accessible. Then creating a more luxurious brand or more ethical brand, or maybe your brand just talks about attention to detail, or more minimalistic brand, or flamboyant. These are all the elements which can help you to position your brand in the market better. Your brand positioning, to understand that, you can work on two axes. Let's work on this chart. Now, axis one is, let's say your brand from less expensive to more expensive, your brand comes closer to more expensive, okay, not the less expensive part. Then in axis 2, you are also looking at the look of your brand from classic to fashion forward. You are more towards the classic or the vintage side, or your silhouettes are taken from vintage area. Now, if you turn around the 0 point of both the axes on top of each other, you get these 2 points here, where axis 1 was again less expensive to more expensive, and axis 2, which is talking about classic to fashion forward. So you are here on axis 2 and you are here on axis 1, and if you do a cross section part, then you get your brand position here. So this is called a brand position map. Similarly, if you are a sustainable brand and your axis 1 is more towards how ethical you want to be versus non-ethical, you really want to use ethical practices, and on axis 2 you are looking at low produce to high produce. So you are here and you are saying that I'm not going to produce a lot of stuff, I'm going to optimally produce. And then if you again put both the axes together, you will get your area here. Now, sportswear brand positioning in real world. Let's look at how different brands, they do their brand positioning mapping. So here the axis 1 is performance versus fashion, and axis 2 is high price to low price. So you will see Nike more towards high price, but they're also towards the performance side, where Adidas is more towards fashion side, but they both are expensive shoes. If you look at Lacoste, that is also a very expensive brand, but it is coming more towards fashion. It is going away from performance and it's coming more towards fashion. So this is how you can look at where your competitors are. If you want to become a fashion wear brand, you start looking in this map that this is the place where there is a market gap. So this is a very cool place to start your brand with, because there is a big market which nobody else has seen. Similarly, if you look at other brands, you would be able to understand from high end to low end, high quality to low quality. You will understand where is the place where you can start your brand making the same product as these. Then you have to look what are the places which are like a gap. Similarly, with prestigious group, affordability to prestige price, mass market exclusivity, you'll see Hermes has the most prestigious price and it's very exclusive. Then you have Louis Vuitton, exclusive is slightly lower than Hermes, then you have Chanel, then you have Gucci, which is slightly more affordable compared to Hermes, and it is coming more towards mass market. Then you have premium brands like Coach, then you have Guess, which is quite affordable and it is also mass market. So this is how we can understand a brand positioning map. Brand positioning requires one more thing, is the market research. We do it to understand competitors, how to understand the kind of market that you are getting in, who are your competitors. Then only you would start making a brand positioning map. Then understand how each competitor is positioned in the brand position map. Then also to understand the gap. In the brand position map, you will understand gap, and there are higher possibilities to become successful if you launch your label in the gap. Then identifying competitive advantages. Now this is very important. We are going to discuss this. And also comparing your position to your competitors, identify your uniqueness. You also need to go to the market and research that is your product still unique. That can only happen when you have seen other products too. Fashion brands competitive advantage. One is brand positioning, which includes all the market research, and there is another one. So let's discover the other one, that is called USP or unique selling proposition. The elements that makes the brand stand out or appear better than the competition is called USP or unique selling proposition. Now the question is how to create USP for a fashion brands. So let's discuss 5 ways of creating. So the first is product itself. If your product is unique, desirable, that creates a USP for your brand positioning. Then comes pricing. Is your pricing according to the value that you're offering? For that, you again need to go out and check what other brands are offering for the kind of pricing that you are asking for. Then distribution method. How are you even supplying your product to different places? Is your product accessible by people or not? So you really have to understand how. And this kind of distribution method can really bring a new kind of USP to your brand. Types of promotion. How are you promoting your brand? If you are not promoting your brand in an updated style, it fails to create a USP. And also the last one, which everybody is talking about, is the storytelling part, where you use a narrative to connect your brand to customers, where you are linking all the values that you are standing for. So basically, to create fashion brand USP, you have product itself, the kind of pricing, the kind of distribution method you're using, and the types of promotion you're doing, and what kind of story that you are narrating to your consumer. So all these things create USPs for fashion brand. Now, in the conclusion of the chapter, I would say that even if it takes a lot of effort in creating a strong brand identity, the process becomes easier if the brands are based on basic human values like empathy, contribution, and preservation. The new consumer is more aware and more connected, and they really care for living meaningful lives, which means they connect to brands that have similar personalities. In this part, we learned about the process of creating a strong brand position, and the way brand personality is important for the brand positioning, and how fashion brands can build their competitive advantage over other competitors. In the next part, we are going to work on the process of putting all our learnings together, so do not miss the next part. And please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon.